Hey guys, it's Oliver here, aka UK Browns NFL, and this is my review of the Cleveland Browns 21-7 loss against the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 15. This season is about as miserable as it gets. The Browns are 3-11. Nick Chubb broke his foot. I almost just want to crawl under a rock for the rest of the season, to be honest. As I said last week, we've talked ad nauseum about how disappointing this season has been. It's been the most disappointing season since reactivation, but you don't need me to keep saying that each week. We can wait until the off season to truly reflect on this year. But this week was just a cherry on top of a cake made of dog crap. Nick Chubb has broken his foot and is out for the season. Just a gut wrenching blow to a player who's already been through so much. It's tough, man. I'm not sure if that's it. I don't even really want to think about it right now. But we are going to have some pretty difficult truths to face this off season. I said a few weeks back that the Browns needed to invest heavily into this run game in the off season through drafting a running back, investing in the O-line. They might have to draft that running back pretty high, and they might even need to draft or sign two. As far as this game goes, this was just the average Browns game, from this year, but on steroids. Just an absolute shit show from the offense and special teams again. 6 turnovers given up to the reigning Super Bowl champions. It's actually a testament to the defense that they only allowed 21 points, to be honest. They were actually pretty good against KC in this game, and as I've said all season, it's the only side of the ball that I have full confidence in moving forward. They didn't record any sacks in this game, but they were able to get consistent pressure on Mahomes and held up well in coverage for most part, with Mahomes finishing the game with only 159 passing yards. And they allowed 14 points off 6 turnovers, which is a credit to them. Speaking of sacks, Jameis was sacked 5 times in this game, and the Browns made one of the worst ranked pass rushes in the NFL headed into this game. Looked like one of the best. Just a miserable day from the protection to the operation as a whole. Jameis threw 3 picks in this game. Most of them were pretty bad, and it wasn't just the picks. He was bad overall in this game. One of the worst games from a Browns quarterback this season, and that is saying something. That's why he was benched for DTR in this game, who, despite having a few good plays, was ultimately pretty bad as well. So I've said it before this year that I'd be happy with Jameis as a bridge next year, but that they should also explore all the available options. And I'd be lying if I said that this game didn't make me lean towards more, exploring other options. Just not sure that this play is sustainable to hold it down as a bridge. I mean, we'll see. Whilst he does keep his receivers engaged on every play and forces defenses to cover, every blade of the grass, he can also have games like this and like last week. And, if you are going to bring him back, you're going to need to do so knowing that just multiple, that's multiple interception games now this year. And, with the passing yards, when he's throwing for nearly 500 yards, you can maybe excuse it. But, in this game, I think 120 odd net passing yards with 3 interceptions, it's just inexcusable at that point. Jerry Jeudy and Jerome Ford were pretty much the only bright spots on offense this week. Jeudy had 108 receiving yards, and the Browns only had 127 net passing yards. The definition of a one-man show in the passing game. Njoku being out, of course, didn't help. And, I tweeted before the game that Jeudy was in for a lot of targets, 14 in total, 11 catches. I'm going to do another video this week about Jerry Jeudy, as well as the Watson news that, seemed to surprise a lot of people, but maybe not so much myself. So I'll talk about, more about Jeudy's season in that video. But for now, it's obviously worth mentioning just another good game from Jeudy as he continues his, great season. And, great renaissance since Watson's been out. Jerome Ford had 84 rushing yards on 7 carries, including a 64-yard run for the Browns' only touchdown of the game. He also had a big return on special teams as well, doing his part, especially in Nick Chubb's absence. And I said last year that I do believe that, Jerome Ford can be an effective back in the NFL if he's used properly and, not as a number one kind of bell cow. And I think he has showed that in this game, despite the kind of mess around him. But, as a whole, yeah, just more pain on top of more pain. It's not even the losing at this point, but to lose Chubb for the year in a game where the Browns showed, just how far away they are from contending with teams like the Chiefs, it just sucks, man. And, I've said it multiple times this season, but this year has truly been the worst in my time as a Browns fan. Worse than 1-31 across 2016 and 17 and worse than 2019. Just absolutely brutal. But let's get into this game recap. This is actually my 10th review on this channel. And yep, it's my 8th time talking about a crappy loss. The joy. So this game started with the Browns once again winning a coin toss. I know we didn't win about 20 coin tosses in a row, and now it seems like we can't lose one, but they elected to defer. Travis Kelce rolled his ankle on the first series of the play. Looked like he, could be struggle. He ended up coming back in, but the Browns defense forced a 3-and-out on the Chiefs' first offensive drive of the game. And then in just kind of what was a precursor for what was to come, James Prochet fumbles on the punt return. The Chiefs recover. Just another special teams disaster. The Chiefs were able to ultimately take advantage with a touchdown pass to Juju Smith-Schuster. Yep. The Browns' next drive stalls out around the 50 after a Jameis sack. The Browns' defense then forced the Chiefs to punt after Kareem Hunt, of all people, had a couple of good runs. Looked like he might, he clearly had a point to prove on that drive. But ultimately, the Browns were able to limit him and limit the Chiefs' offense as a whole and force another punt. Winston was then able to make a great play on 3rd and 10 to keep the Browns' drive alive with a 17-yard completion to Jerry Jeudy. He then converted his second consecutive 3rd down after another play on 3rd and 6 with, I think, was a 13-yard completion to Jerry Jeudy. So at this point, it's going okay for Winston. But then he throws an interception into double coverage on a pass intended to a 5'8" Elijah Moore. In the end zone. He threw up a jump ball for a pretty small receiver in double coverage. The Jameis Winston experience. The Browns defense were able to bail him out by forcing a 3-and-out. But as always, the offense got stalled out by another George Karlaftis sack on 3rd down, his second of the game at this point. The teams then trade a few punts. Martin Emerson was then ruled out of this game with a head injury. And then the Chiefs score their second touchdown of the game, and Myles Garrett goes down in what appears to be a lot of pain, holding his eye after getting poked, in the eye by Joe Thuney. So at this point, just a whole lot of pain and just a terrible sequence of events. Martin Emerson getting ruled out, the Chiefs scoring a touchdown on the same play that Myles Garrett is in excruciating pain. I think a lot of Browns fans just wanted to turn the TV off at this point. Jerome Ford then did have his big return the kickoff to the 50-yard line on, the first good special teams play of the game and the only good special teams play of the game. The Browns then turned the ball over on downs after another pretty terrible 4th down play call, as well as just a pretty bad play from Jameis overall. The Chiefs were able to drive down the field, but Mike Hall made a really great play to stuff a 3rd and 1 in the red zone. And then Harrison Butker missed a 29-yard field goal to end the half. I'm sure to the joy of many NFL fans watching this game. Coming out of the half, Jameis throws his second interception of the game on the very first play out of the half after Nick Chubb bobbled the ball, and it kind of like bobbled out of his hands into the player, back onto his knee, and then into the defender's hands. It was a bit of a mess, but obviously ultimately was Jameis's second interception of the game. The Chiefs capitalized with a 4-play touchdown drive, which was capped off by a 21-yard Xavier Worthy run, which was basically a pass play. It was counted as a lateral because the ball ever so slightly looked like it went backwards, but it was basically a pass play from Mahomes. I'm sure the fantasy guys weren't happy with that, whoever had Mahomes. But and then just what was a laughable bad sequence of events at this point. Chubb then fumbles on the very next offensive play to give Casey the ball at the Browns 44. Credit to the defense, they actually allowed 0 yards and forced KC to punt after Miles Harden made a great play to break up a pass on DeAndre Hopkins, which initially looked as if he'd bobbled the ball back into Hopkins' hands, but ultimately he was able to break the pass up and the Browns defense were able to get off the field. The Browns offense then finally picked up a few first downs with a few plays to Jerry Jeudy, which felt like their first down in the majority of this game. But then a botch snapped on third down just forced them to punt again. Just a complete shit show at this point. Chubb then goes out with his foot injury, which, as we know, has been ruled as a broken foot. So at this point, it's just pain, all pain. The Browns defense, credit to them, they were able to force another punt on the Chiefs. And then after a Jameis sack for a 13-yard loss, Jerome Ford, with the Browns' best play of the day, takes a 62 yards to the house on 2nd and 23 after a great block from Jeudy opens up pretty much the entire right side of the field. So great play from Jerome Ford and Jerry Jeudy, arguably the Browns' two only bright spots on the offense this game. The defense then continued their good play by forcing another quick 3 and out and giving the Browns offense a chance to go and make it a one-score game. However, of course, the Browns are unable to capitalize and end up punting it straight back to KC. And the Browns defense, they did all they could, and as I've said, they tried their hardest in their game. They forced another 3 and out just before the fourth quarter. Jerome Ford then had another big play, put the Browns in Chiefs territory, before unfortunately Winston throws his third pick of the game, which, credit to McDuffie, he made a hell of a play to pick it off. So a pretty good pick for him in what I think is his first ever NFL pick, which is pretty insane when you think about how good he's been for a few years now. The Chiefs were then able to drive into Browns territory, but they turned the ball over on downs after going for it on 4th and 3, with Mahomes limping off after getting his ankle rolled up on. Carson Wentz came in for the rest of this game. It was reported that Mahomes is week to week with a high ankle sprain. Thankfully, because on the play it looked like it could possibly be worse. So good news to see that is just week to week, and hopefully it doesn't keep him out for too long, because any rivalry aside, I say rivalry, the Chiefs Browns isn't a rivalry. They've beaten us 5 times now in the last 10 years, but the NFL is a better place when Patrick Mahomes is playing. So, hopefully he's back as soon as possible. The Browns then benched Jameis Winston for DTR. DTR comes in. He actually converts a 4th and 11, but it was negated by another illegal formation penalty. So they end up punting it back to the Chiefs instead. The Browns defense then forced their 9th and final punt of the game before DTR threw an interception to end the game. So what went wrong? As I said earlier, the same story, but on steroids. The Browns' offense and special teams were so bad in a game where the Chiefs punted 9 times that it was never even close despite that. The Chiefs weren't even necessarily good in this game, in my opinion, especially not on offense. They were below their season average for yards and only had 2 more first downs than the Browns' miserable offense, despite having the ball for longer and running 15 more plays. Mahomes was under quite a bit of pressure in this game. He did overthrow quite a few deep balls, and ultimately the Browns' defense showed up, but unfortunately the other sides of the ball didn't. This was Winston's worst game as a Brown, accompanied by pretty shoddy protection. It was just going to be a recipe for a disaster, and it resulted in a performance that looked eerily similar to another Browns quarterback from earlier this season. In what feels like a sick joke, this was actually the Browns' best game this year from their run game. 139 rushing yards, the most that they've had in any game all year. They averaged 6.6 yards per carry and actually had more rushing yards than net passing yards. But as I've said all year, this team doesn't know the meaning of complementary football. So, of course, when they finally get a decent day out of their run game, it just happens to be the same day that they can't throw the ball. Just an absolute mess, to be honest. And of course, to follow suit, the Browns' special teams were once again atrocious, fumbling the first punt of this game and essentially giving KC 3 points to start the game after the defense had forced a stop. You cannot give a team like the Chiefs 3 points and 3 possessions. You could have the 2007 Patriots on offense. If you turn the ball over 6 times against this team, you're not going to win. There's so much work to do on the offensive side of the ball this offseason. Jerry Jeudy and David Njoku are arguably the only big name players on this offense that you could say for certain should be back next year. It does just feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point. We've known how bad this offense has been since, week 3, and that's probably being nice. Just get rid of Dorsey. Let's go back to the West Coast wide zone scheme. I'm sick of watching this crap. I've seen Jacoby Brissett and a 38-year-old Joe Flacco run a top 10 offense in that scheme. So, the experiment is over. And whilst you're at it, sack Bubba Ventrone as well. I said last week they had to do it. Just can't accept this week in, week out. It might even be worse than Mike Prefer's special teams. And that is saying something. The fact they've had 2 years and still can't find someone to return punts, is a sackable offense alone, let alone being a detriment to the team in kickoff and punt coverages. It's just all bad. And Corey Bojorquez is the only player on this special teams that deserves any praise this year. And I mean, shit, he's been one of our best players overall. So credit to him. But, we just got to get through these last 3 games and go from there. I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to Jameis next week, to keep the other guys engaged, essentially. We'll see. But as I said, let's get through these 3 games, see where we're picking in the draft and go from there. And then I think we can, truly reflect on just how utterly terrible this season has been and start planning ahead. And, it sucks, but we've been here before, unfortunately. I'm sure my subscribers know by now, but I never like to end these reviews on a negative. So I thought I'd finish by highlighting the few positives. As I mentioned, Jerry Jeudy and Jerome Ford were great in this game. I'm doing a video on Jeudy this week, but that's now the 1,000-yard season under his belt that had eluded him so far in his NFL career. He's top 5 in the NFL in receiving yards and has truly cemented himself as the Browns' wide receiver 1 going forward. As I also mentioned, the Browns' defense were actually pretty excellent in this game. They only allowed 21 points against the reigning Super Bowl champions when their offense and special teams turned the ball over 6 times. They forced 9 punts and multiple 3-and-outs in this game, including quite a few at the end to give this offense every chance they could to get back into this game. I know there's been some discourse around the coordinator this year, but to be honest, I'm perfectly happy with Jim Schwartz and this defense moving forwards. You're going to lose some pieces, of course, but the core guys are there, and there's also some pretty exciting young guys coming through as well. Mike Hall looks like he could be a star in this league if he keeps his head screwed on. Just insane burst off the line of scrimmage for his size. I didn't think he'd even play this year, to be honest, given the suspension and, him only being 21 years old and a rookie. And he's not only played, but he's played very well in the games that he has played in. So exciting to keep an eye on going forward in the future. Isaiah McGuire also building on a pretty sneakily good year. He's starting to look like a nice player, man, especially against the run. And I expect him to be a key piece within this defensive line rotation going forward. You pair those two with Miles and perhaps a first-round draft pick this year, and we could be looking at, a very good yet young defensive line going into the future to help Miles. And of course, Denzel was once again great. He's literally having an all-pro season. But he won't get recognised because of the team's record. It really is a damn shame. But another great game from him to just build on a really, really good season from him. And finally, Myles Garrett might not have gotten to 100 sacks in this game. But hey, It's only fitting that he gets it next week against the Cincinnati Bengals. What a lovely family affair that will be, with Myles Garrett getting to 100 career sacks whilst playing against his son. Awesome stuff. But anyway, that would do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you do enjoy my content, then please drop this video a like. In the holiday spirit, I'm trying to get to 50 subscribers before New Year's. So please, again, if you do enjoy my content, hit that subscribe button as well. It's free and it really helps out my channel. You can also check the links in the description to see where you can connect and interact with me on social media. I'm trying to build a community of Browns fans, and as I always say, even if I only get to talk to one Browns fan a day, I'm happy because I'm talking Browns football with the best fan base in the world. Thanks again for watching, guys. Have a great week. Hopefully goes much better than this Browns season is. And most importantly, go Browns.